Alright, I decided to do this video. This is that Lefties of Guns at the Arizona Capitol. If you're watching this video, I posted it into, I think it's Liberalism is a Mental Disorder. Everybody's already watched this video for the most part. These are the commies, the brown shirts, the brown berets, whatever they're called, marching in the Arizona Capitol. There's about 40 of them there, and I think it's Phoenix or whatever. And they got guns, and there's pictures of them all over. This morning, this is Monday, the 27th, that I'm making this audio recording, and it was like, oh my gosh, left-wingers have guns, communists have guns. Seeing a lot of that. Decided to sit down and watch. I kind of looked at a couple of pictures of it earlier. This evening I actually sat down and watched the whole thing. Gosh, that reporter guy. I just had to mute the audio because the guy was just horrifically annoying. This is an interesting video. Extremely educational. Probably not as educational as they thought it was going to be, because it kind of peeled the lid off of a little bit of what I saw today in this video. If you are somebody that lives in, like, say, a large city, New York, Los Angeles, and you are not a firearms person. My cat is meowing at me. Anyway, yeah, the cat was being annoying, and actually my chihuahua's kind of hanging around me right now, too. If you're not a gun person, this looks like a scary video, and there are some portions of this video that are actually really frightening, and you don't realize you're looking at the frightening part. This is what I saw mostly between the pictures that I saw earlier and the video. Is these people aren't very experienced. And what I mean by that, I'm going to let the cat outside. Hold on. Alright, I'm back. These people aren't very experienced. For the most part. There's some of them that are squared away. There's some of them that are just, it's a gaggle. You probably saw the kind of picture that was going around where there was the girl in the front row, and she's got a guy with a funky looking rifle to her left. She's got a rifle that's got a really long handguard on it with a scope on the top, and then like the guy to the right, he's got like an AK-47. Those three were pretty much the poster child for the gaggle. I'm not using the word gaggle in a nice way here. Her rifle wasn't a rifle. It was an airsoft rifle. It was fake. The scope was canted. It wasn't even mounted correctly. It was a cheap 3x9 loophole scope from like Walmart. They run a little under $200. The guy to her left, he was sporting an AMD 65, which is a Kalashnikov variant out of Hungary, and basically in the configuration it's a useless piece of shit. There's really not a nice way to say it. The stock is unusable. You can't get a cheek weld on it. The lower handguard in the front has this mean-looking forward pistol grip, which is pretty much useless for anything. He didn't have any kind of optics, lights, anything like that. That somebody that was experienced would have. That's not to say that all AMD 65s are pieces of junk, but in the configuration that rifle was in, it really would be useful for making a lot of noise. He could get hits at close range with it, inside 50 or 80 yards. Really anything past that, he's going to have a lot of problems with it. He can't get a good cheek weld. It's got a short sight radius. There's lots of issues there. The muzzle brake on the end. All it's going to do is enhance flash and deafen him. Because, like, for instance, hiding up behind a car or a tree or whatever, setting that thing off will basically deafen him. It's not a good configuration at all. The other AK was pretty basic, but it was a more usable rifle, had a longer sight radius, had better hand guards on it. Still a pretty basic rifle, but you could still fight with that, but again, fairly limited. The most telltale thing was the gear. I've watched the video a couple of times, and most of the people's gear looks like it's basically brand new, and it all color matches. And what that tells me is somebody went on a credit card shopping spree and bought some stuff. And they haven't actually taken it out and actually used it. In fact, this is probably the most amount that most of these people, not all, but most of the people, gear have been used is probably on this march. People that actually get out in the field and do training and use new gear and whatnot, it'll be dusty, it'll be dirty, it'll be worn, it'll be multiple colors, because as people train and they progress in their skills and ability, they find out the gear that they bought initially, that there's flaws, that it's set up, the quality of a certain pouch, or this doesn't work, or that doesn't work. They move things around, they buy new pouches, and typically they wind up not getting the same color again. I'm not saying that everybody's gear is always like multicolors. It's got, like greens and browns or whatever. But it just seems to be people that experience that they tend to wind up with stuff that is not necessarily matching. Because they collect things over time. And most of this gear looks like stuff that they just bought. The scary thing is this reporter almost got shot and killed. And people listening to this going, oh, well, you're just saying that because they had guns. No. If you freeze frame at 4 minutes and 17 seconds, he's about to get killed. He doesn't know he's about to get killed, but he's about to get killed. The gentleman who is more fit, and he's clearly a little bit more experienced. You can tell that by the gear that he's wearing. He's wearing long sleeves, which is going to protect his arms and elbows if he has to go prone. He's got a camelback on for hydration. Notice most of those guys and girls didn't have. I saw one guy who was such a gaggle. I mean, where he should have had his secondary at, he had a bottle of water, which was idiotic. Water doesn't go on your right hand hip. That's where your knife or your pistol, i.e. your secondary weapon, that's where that goes. But this guy's about to shoot him. If you've never used an AK before, you're not familiar with one, you've probably seen them like 1,000,000 times in movies and like 1,000 times on TV. At 4 minutes and 17 seconds, look at the rifle. Look where the guy's got his hands. He has his fire hand on the grip and his finger up off the trigger. However, his left hand, note the placement of his left hand and his fingers and thumb. The point where he has his thumb is resting on the top of the safety lever on the AK. The AK has a long safety lever that runs up the side of the receiver. He's got his thumb sitting on that. Where his, I guess you'd call it trigger finger, it's not your ring finger, it's not the index finger, it's not the middle finger, I don't know, it's whatever the one that's next to the thumb is. That is currently riding on the bolt handle, and it is currently curled around the bolt handle. What this guy is basically prepared to do in one pretty swift move is he's going to take that left hand, he's going to sweep the selector off to the off safe position, and he's going to charge the rifle. So he is basically walking around with a loaded rifle. There's no round in the chamber. We call that condition 3. Police term I think is called cruiser safe, if it was a shotgun. But he's running around without a round in the chamber. But he's ready to charge this rifle pretty quickly. And he's basically charging forward to this guy, looking to see if he's going to have to do that. So this reporter with the iPhone filming poorly in the portrait mode, he doesn't know it, but he's actually in a lot of danger right now. I mean, an extreme amount of danger, and doesn't realize it. This guy is ready to go. He's definitely got some training, and he's definitely trained with this rifle. There's enhancements he could do to this rifle that he hasn't done that would be better. Red dot sight, a tactical tab on the selector, that sort of stuff. But this guy is a lot more squared away than most of the people that I've seen this video. I'm going to kind of fast forward it to the next guy that I've seen squared away. That was the 4 minutes and 17 seconds. This was like their spokes leader. If you watch this guy, he keeps his reactionary hand on that charging handle and on that selector the whole time. If you watch the fat girl with the AK, she's pretty much prepared to do exactly two things with that thing, which is jack and shit. She's too short, too fat to use that long stock. That's a underfolder stock. She's never going to get a cheek weld on that. Her boobs are going to get in the way. She's out there posing. Guy next to her with the AR, he's ready to rock. His magazines are squared away in a good location. Looks like he's got a secondary on his hip. I'm looking at some good video footage of him here at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. That AR dissipator setup that he's got going isn't too bad. I mean, he could definitely go with like a red dot on that. But it looks like he's kind of prepared though. So he's actually fairly reasonably squared away. So people watching this video, you should be concerned. There is some people in this that are just... This chick who's doing a lot of the talking. She's kind of cute too. She's a little chunky, but she's kind of cute. She's got, looks like an M9 bayonet, and she's got a weird position on her body. I don't know what she's intended to do with it. She's wearing like a GoPro as a body cam. Not a bad idea on something like this. If you're out at a protest, definitely videotape yourself. So that was smart on her part. But again, I don't know what she's doing with this bayonet. They're not even very sharp, to be honest with you. They're kind of meant to be shoved on the end of the rifle and used as a semi-sharp stabbing instrument. Just kind of skipping through the video, see if we could see anybody else. Okay, we got the scary guy with the AK. He's still ready to do stuff at like the 15-minute mark. I mean, he's taking his hands away from the rifle a couple times, but he's still ready to kill this guy if he has to. So this dude's ready. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get anybody else good on video. Just kind of going through it, and here's a chunky chick with the AK. She's not prepared to do jack with that thing. All right, here comes some guy. This guy's a bag. He's got like an iPhone out. I guess it probably just never occurred to him like to use like the most capitalistic rifle ever. He's got an AR. It's got a red dot on it. So he's kind of a little bit looking like he might be slightly squared away here, but I do see some. Sure exactly what's going on with this rifle. Seems like there's something funny going on with it. And he's got like this perfectly black equipment. He hasn't ever trained with that stuff. So he's not really prepared. I mean, the rifle looks kind of squared away, but he's not doing any training with this gear. Let's see here. Okay, here's another couple more people. I can see looks like a fat chick here in the background at 1807. Yeah, she's got some black gear around, which she hasn't really ever used it before, otherwise it wouldn't be black. And, yeah, she's not particularly ready to go either. She's got a rifle. She's dangerous, but not super experienced. Let's see here. She's probably spent more time under a tattoo needle than she has on a rifle range. Right, a single point sling. She doesn't really have it. She's not really wearing it right, although that'll kind of work for her for what she's doing for the moment. Let's see here. Okay, this guy here is actually squared away. This guy here at 1857, he's a little dangerous. He's fat. Looks like he's wearing a tactical bib. But he's got his reloads up front, which is where they belong. Yeah, he's got... This is, again, these people are kind of screwed up. I mean, he's got secondary mag pouches on front of his primaries, which aren't a terrible idea, but I don't see a secondary on this guy unless it's way behind his back. I can't see it behind his blubber. I'm not sure. You can see that guy in like pretty well, like 1852, 1909. Again, I'm just kind of like skipping through the video. and checking people out. Okay, there's the fat chick. She's got some mags there on the side. She doesn't have any idea what to do. She's got a secondary around on her backside. It's way too far in the back. If she lands on her back, she'll never be able to get to it. So if she gets knocked down to the ground, she's never going to get that side arm out. It's going to jab her in the back. So she doesn't have any experience there either. Also, if she tries to get into a car with that thing, it's going to jab her in the back. It's not a good place for a secondary. That's why we have drop leg holsters. That's why we put stuff on her right hip. Just, not a good setup. She doesn't have any experience either. This guy's pretty annoying. I wanted to touch on a guy. See if I can find him. Here we go. 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Guy with the red and brown ball cap on. He's got green gear on for the most part. He's got some belt pouches off to his left. And he's sporting the world's shittiest shotgun. That is a Kel-Tec KSG. It is a bullpup configured pump-action shotgun. They're made here in Florida. And gun's basically a piece of garbage. It's got 2 magazine tubes that feed it underneath. Each one holds like 7 rounds of 2 3/4 inch shells. One in a pipe. The gun holds like 15 rounds. These guns are really easy to short stroke and cause a jam under stress. If you look at his gear, he doesn't have any readily accessible ammunition anywhere on his gear. There might be something in those pouches off to his left or maybe in his chest, but he doesn't have anything that's really readily accessible. Once this guy expends his 15 rounds, assuming he makes through all 15 without jamming that shotgun, he's pretty screwed after that. These guns are kind of difficult to reload under stress because of where the loading gate's at. It's just not a very good shotgun at all. Quality control on these things is not very good typically. If you don't believe me, just Google KSG problems. You'll see a bunch of videos on YouTube where people have had problems with these guns. This guy spent about $1,500 on this turd. And the sad fact is he could have picked up like a Remington 1100 for about $300 or $400. Well, it would have been more. It would have been like $400, $450. And literally like a couple $100 worth of work and parts, and he'd have a much better shotgun than this thing. I run on an 1100 with 7-shot magazine tube. 7-shot tube cost you like $50. Dave's Easy Loader's like $35. Cut the barrel, had my buddy do it, chopped it down to 21.5 inches and rebeat it. It cost me a dime. For like $400, I've got this shotgun that is actually useful. It's easy to load. It's reliable, and it's easily topped off. This gun's not very good. I saw a picture earlier. There was a guy with an SKS. It was bone stock. Listen, I've watched a guy with an SKS do well on a carbine course, but he was using detachable magazines. This guy here isn't even running detachable magazines, so it's SKS. He's not in the video. I didn't see him anywhere in the video. At least I didn't see a close-up of him, but I saw pictures of him. For the most part, these are just some left-wing people. They own a couple of firearms. They've never really trained with them, other than really their leader, who kind of poked his nose up there and was basically ready to kill. Most of these people are not particularly experienced. That's pretty obvious. And if nobody believes me about this video, run this video without my voice past any like infantrymen, current or former, SWAT officer, anybody that's got a 3-gun competitor, really anybody that's got any kind of actual experience, and for the most part, they're going to tell you the same things that I'm telling you. Are these people to be something to be concerned about? Oh, absolutely. In a crowded room full of elderly conservatives who are unprepared for violence, these people could be devastating. It could be quite the bloodbath. Against a reasonably trained militia, against a police SWAT team, against the National Guard, even just plain infantry without any heavy weapon support, these people would be mincemeat in seconds. They wouldn't last, not even against a halfway decently trained right-wing militia, they wouldn't last more than a few minutes in a firefight. The militia would take casualties, but they'd wind up wiping these fools out. And of course, anybody that's actually like SWAT or U.S. Army, or I mean, even just basic. I mean, I'll be honest with you. People who've gone to basic training and learn how to run lanes and stuff like that, and basic, are definitely more prepared and more experienced than these people. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of my video. I've been talking for, I don't know, 20 or 25 minutes here about this. I'm going to edit this down. It is something to be concerned about, but this is why when I post on liberalism, as a mental disease, if you're not armed, get armed, and if you are armed, get trained. Because training and experience is going to beat the pants off of anybody. As a matter of fact, speaking of training and experience, it was just before I shot this video, was reading a news article. 3 guys in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma tried to break into a house in broad daylight, 12:30 in the afternoon. Homeowner's son was prepared, used a rifle, don't know what kind, AR, AK, something, and killed all 3 of them in a gunfight. 1 versus 3, and he won. And that's the difference between being prepared and being trained and just somebody being a violent douchebag. Anyway, I'm out. Y'all have a good night.